Welcome back. You're watching Luck on Sunday. Now, award ceremonies, particularly in horse racing, are not everybody's cup of tea. But everybody in this sport does agree that the Godolphin Stud and Stable Staff Awards are not only extremely important, they also provide an extremely enjoyable occasion, as we witnessed once again Monday last.
The prestigious Employee of the Year Award at the 2019 Godolphin Stud and Stable Staff Awards. It is Catch Bissett.
I work with so many fantastic people, and there's so many people that are so deserving of this, and it's a real team game. No one can do it on their own, and I work with the most fantastic team, and every day's a joy, and we laugh and we enjoy the highs and we get through the lows together, so it's fantastic.
What a night, and what a night in particular for Employee of the Year and the winner of the Leadership Award for the year, Catch Bissett, who's based with Nick Alexander's team in Scotland. Catch, thank you very much for joining us here in the Luck on Sunday studio. What a week for you.
It's been an amazing week. It's flown by. It was fantastic. The most important thing to me was to get back to the team and sort of congratulate all of them, because it's not one person, it's all about them, and they were very, very supportive in the whole process, and I think we're going to have a nice party now, I think.
I think you deserve a nice party. I think you're allowed to enjoy it. You know, I think you can be as depriving of yourself as you want, but this is an important award, and it's in recognition of an awful lot of extremely hard work. Just give us a flavour of what life's like as assistant trainer to Nick Alexander.
So Nick and I work quite closely together about what the horses are doing and what the people are doing every day. We have a meeting every morning going into the day, discuss the horses, discuss what the staff are going to do, any extra jobs that we want to get done too. And then my real main priority is managing the staff and organising the rotas. I really like our staff to have a day and a half off each week, which I think is really important for them. So the rotas and managing what they're doing and whatnot is quite a big deal of what I do day to day.
And just tell me a little bit about how it all started for you.
So I actually have quite an unconventional background and way of getting into racing. I'm not a horsey person at all, not from the classic horsey family. I got into horses riding in a riding school, and my dad...
So where was home? Where did you grow up?
I'm an Edinburgh girl, so literally went all through school.
So you're a city girl, really? I'm a city girl, and it's probably quite obvious sometimes. And I rode out for Lucinda Russell. That was the first thing I did. My dad went to visit Lucinda's looking at a horse, which then came in to Catch the Perk, who won 13 races. Most fantastic horse that we've ever had. And basically Lucinda got me into it. I rode out through school and uni and went to Glasgow University, studied history at Glasgow University, and then went on and did a Masters in business psychology before going on to the BHA graduate scheme, and that's really when I got stuck in and decided that's what I wanted to do. And I've always wanted to work in racing, but actually having the confidence to say, no, I'm going to really give this a go and make a career out of it. So the BHA gave me a massive leg up, and I had a placement with Richard Phillips, who is the first trainer to take on someone from the BHA. And I don't think there's been one since, which is a real shame. And Richard taught me a lot and gave me a real leg up, as I say. You know, he made me his assistant trainer. He put a lot of faith and time into producing me as what I am now, and I would owe a lot to him. He's taught me some colourful language as well. What was it like working for Richard Phillips? He's a very entertaining man, very engaging man. But what's he like to work for?
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed working for him. He is a hard man to work for in some ways, in which he has very specific ways of how he likes things done. But I think he is really good at giving people the opportunities and really basically puts confidence in you, whilst giving you a bit of a hard time on the way through. But that's good, it toughened me up, and I look back on my time at Addlestrop with so much fondness, and I really consider all of them down there my racing family.
And how long were you there?
I was there for 3.5 years, and I've always wanted to move back to Scotland. I think Scottish racing's fantastic, what's going on up there. The racecourses are putting in real effort into sort of
improving the facilities and their treatment of the owners, as well as the stable staff. And it's just an exciting place to be and work in just now, and I always wanted to go back there. It is home, and I was thrilled to have the opportunity to come and work as Nick's assistant, and as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I'm fascinated. You're incredibly highly qualified academically, and you made the interesting point there that you were the only person who's been taken by a trainer off the BHA graduate scheme, which is quite sad, really. It's as though the people in the BHA graduate scheme who've got high-level academic qualifications should be doing something different from actually the hands-on day-to-day running of horses in training.
Absolutely, and I think it's a real shame. I went through school loving horses, really into racing. I got into racing because my dad took me to Muswell Racecourse and we watched it, and it's really, no one at school ever told me that it would be okay to do it, and a lot of the time I was like looking into other avenues and maybe work in PR, maybe be a lawyer, and racing's really all I wanted to come back to. I'm very lucky to have supportive parents who allowed me to go down that route and supported me, but I think that's a really important thing that we probably could address. You know, there's a lot of opportunities for people in racing, and it's not just sort of being a clerk of the course, being a racing manager. You know, I get a lot of fulfillment at my job at work. I take interest in the business, and it's, you know, we're working with vets. It's challenging stuff, and I think stable staff should deserve a lot more recognition for how sort of engaging it is. Not just a physical job, you work with your body, you ride horses, but also it's very mentally engaging, and we encourage the staff to really focus and into what we're doing and where we're going, and I think we should really encourage people to do that.
So would you prefer to see a cultural shift in the way we think about stable staff? So we're thinking of stable staff as skilled workers, essentially, rather than just supporting the industry because the industry needs bodies on the ground?
Oh, absolutely. Someone once said to me, if we were working in Formula One, you'd be the engineers. You're the people you're working with a horse and you're trying to make the best athlete that you can. You're talking nutrition, you're talking about how we exercise, and it's the whole picture is sort of fine-tuning the animal to be the best athlete it can possibly be, and that is very engaging. You know, people, it's a lot to think about, and everyone does that every single day. It's just it's not just a physical job, it is a mentally engaging job, and I think that's really important that people recognise that too.
Do you think it's to your advantage that you didn't come from what you would call a traditional racing background, because you can see things from a slightly different perspective?
I'm not sure I would say it was an advantage, and I'm not sure I would say it was a disadvantage. I just always wanted to do it, and I think everyone who maybe doesn't come from the same background is, you know, a lot of people will think that it's very sort of horsey families, and you go from your horsey families into. I'm not like that, and there's loads of people out there that are not like that, and it's such a rewarding industry to be a part of, and anyone that loves working with horses, I really do think it's the most fulfilling place you can do it, is to work in the racing industry.
Now, clearly, given the fact that you won the leadership award and you're an assistant trainer, one of your main focuses is on man management. How do you motivate a team when a team's down, when you've had a string of bad results, when you've had 3 weeks without a winner, when it's pouring with rain, when there's a ton of abandonments, when there really doesn't seem to be much light at the end of the tunnel? How do you lift everyone to produce peak performance?
I think the most important thing is that you're always working in a team and you always know where you're going to go. It's sort of having that projection of where we want to be and how we want to work, and we always say you work with your head up. So you work with your head up and you acknowledge the people around you. You know, it is, we have touched upon, it's a physical job. You work with your head up, and some days some people are tired or they've got something else going on at home, and if you work with your head up and you work with empathy, then you can pull together and push forward, and I think we're very good at doing that at Nick Alexander's.
So if somebody's just struggling a little bit, the rest of you can pick up the slack and look after them?
Definitely.
But you just don't want too many of you to be struggling at the same time?
No, sometimes we all are, but you know, at the same time then you are a team, and we all go on forward together.
So Nick Alexander's job came 5 years ago?
Yeah, just under 5 years ago.
And how did that all come about?
Well, I actually met with Nick just at the racecourse, and he was mentioning that he was looking for an assistant trainer, and it was coming at a time where I would like to have moved back to Scotland. My family was growing, my brothers were having kids and whatnot, and I really wanted to be a part of sort of the Scottish racing scene again, and it just all happened sort of at the right time, and and I'm very lucky that I got the opportunity.
Interesting, you mentioned families, but tangentially, but it leads me on. How compatible is a job in racing with having a family?
It is quite difficult. You know, we work long hours. There's a lot of travelling and whatnot. But I think that the industry as a whole has to be very receptive. That there needs to be a life outside of racing. Yes, it is your life, and it's part of what you want to do. You do it for purely the enjoyment. But you have to have something outside. You know, our head lad, Mark Elwood, has just had his first child, and we took the decision that he should have weekends off, and he works one weekend day in the whole month. And as a team, we're completely on board with that, because everyone needs to have something outside. It can't take over everything.
And everyone's appreciative that in some instances you prioritise the people with families at certain times of the year, Christmas for example.
Yeah, I think you have to, and no one at work resents that. There's a few times when we have our winners' bacon rolls, we say, oh, that's only for the weekend people, but it's all in jest, and I think you have to be supportive of what people have outside racing as well.
And do you think you have to be more creative in the way that you look after people now? Do there need to be more incentives? Do there need to be more carrot in the working environment?
Absolutely, and I do think the industry is changing and embracing that more. But, you know, it is a hard job, and the highs are fantastic. The lows are quite hard to take too, but I just think we really all need to, you know, give people some time off, and it pays back in dividends, because you have rejuvenated staff that work harder when they're there.
Now, we get told an awful lot about the gradual decline of northern jump racing and so forth, which has definitely been halted, I think, of late, and the data has proven that. I don't look at you and sense any pessimism at all. I look at you as a total optimist for the future of Scottish racing particularly.
Absolutely. I think we're doing fantastic things. As I mentioned before, the racecourses have improved beyond all recognition. Musselburgh is a fantastic example of that. Ayr as well, you know, the Scottish Nationals, a huge race now. There's people coming from down south targeting it. And just generally speaking, you know, One for Arthur won the Grand National, Nikita won the Ebor. You know, there's a really talented team of people that work up north, and it's good to get a wee bit of recognition.
We were always told not to say up north.
Sorry.
Hence the...
yeah, I'm not sure we're allowed to say it.
Hence the quotation marks. Tell me a little bit about Monday evening. Did you have any inclination you were going to win?
No.
None at all?
Absolutely not. When I was doing the interviews and whatnot, you're looking around you thinking, these people are amazing. There's so many people that I feel are so much more qualified than me to accept this. I went down with Jamie Duff, who works for Lucinda Russell, who I have been with and worked with before, and I'm looking at her thinking she'd be a very deserving winner. I'm looking at Sophie Scott, who works for Mark Johnson, and speaking to her, and she's an amazing young lady who's really making the most of her job and what she's doing. And so to win was a bit overwhelming, and I feel a bit embarrassed almost, because there's so many people other than myself that are so deserving.
But then of course you win the first award and then go in again for the big one.
Yeah, I really couldn't believe the big one. I mean, to win the leadership award was fantastic, but to go on and then win the overall award was just unbelievable, really.
And your boss must be a very proud man.
I think so. I hope so. He has told me he's a proud man, but he deserves a lot of plaudits here too, because he's a very supportive boss, and he's very good to the staff, and I think we all would like to thank him for that as well. I think it's a good example of how things should be done, and he's very much at the forefront of that.
He's quite progressive. You read anything he writes, and he's always thinking quite deeply about the game.
Definitely, and I think it reflects, and we have a lot of staff that work for us, that have worked for us for a long time. We don't have a big turnover, and we do have people that I think recognise outside of our yard that it's a place that they would like to work, and I'm very proud of that.
I'm guessing that this is not the extent of your personal ambition, am I right?
No. I love what I do just now, and I'm really absorbed in working with Nick and working with the team at Kynaston, but the eventual goal is to get my own licence and train for myself.
And if you were going to do that, would you want to do it in Scotland?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And what would you want to specialise in? Would it be National Hunt exclusively, or? National Hunt,
it's always been what I've wanted to do. Obviously I've worked with Richard, who's predominantly National Hunt, although has had some success on the flat, and that's sort of where my heart lies. It's what I was growing up watching more of.
And if you had if you had a message to the sports administrators, and I know you're not going to give them too painful a message because they've just given you 2 rather nice trophies to put on your mantelpiece, you're not going to start suddenly serving it up to them. But if you had a message to the people who run the sport in terms of how they attract more high calibre people into the sort of job that you're doing, how could they better do it?
I think that we should also focus on it. I mean, everyone's doing a lot of work in trying to get people into the sport, and they're doing a lot of very good work. But also I think the message could go into school, and we could be saying, you know, this is a very fulfilling career that you can make out of the racing industry. And to get in there and sort of, I would love to have someone to come into school when I was there and say, you can really make a big go of this. And I think that would be a lovely message to make.
That it can be an aspirational career,
yeah,
a career where there's a ladder to climb as well as...
Absolutely.
It's not something where you start at the bottom and stay at the bottom.
No, definitely not. And there's lots of ways you can progress, and then you can deviate and work on the race courses. You know, there's so many things you can do in racing.
One thing we haven't talked about is money, of course. And everybody knows that stable staff should be earning more money relative to the work that they're actually doing. But that is not uncommon in so many jobs, yet careers advised at school will often push you into public service jobs where it may not be particularly well paid. So that shouldn't necessarily be the driver, should it?
Definitely not. The stable staff do deserve to be paid. It's a hard physical job, and they're very skilled workers, and I do think that's a message that we do need to get across. This is skilled work that we're doing, and it's hard to say. The money isn't really the incentive usually, because you do it for the love of the horse and the love of the industry, and you get into the sort of a family feeling. But the money is obviously important, and I do think we should pay people for the hard work that they do.
You're going to stay with us, I hope.
Yes.
But for the time being, Catch Bissett, thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Catch Bissett, the winner of this year's Employee of the Year Award at the Godolphin Stud and Stable Staff Awards.